Mind blown? Who's got their minds blown? I fixed all your problems in half an hour. I did. So like what Jerry started to say, what I want to give to you guys is a tool that will help you to be able to solve any problem, that will get you through any suffering that you're going through, or just any problem that you could ever possibly have. And so this is a tool that I have learned called the S.T.E.A.R model, and it's something that I learned from Jody Moore and from Andy Martineau, and I'm only going to have time to be able to just slightly scratch the surface on it. But it really, really has changed our mindset and been able to give us the tools to go into every area of your life. Because right now you guys are really honing in on the real estate part of it, but we talked about it a little bit last night at dinner. The really important part is where you can mesh this into all the other parts of your life. Your relationship with yourself, your relationship with significant other, your relationship with your family, and your relationship with money, especially because that's something that you're really trying to focus on right now. First of all, I want to talk to you about your situation. Some people call this circumstance. I like to call it a situation because the acronym S.T.E.A.R helps you to understand that this is something that you're trying to, guide yourself through. If you've got a situation in your life or you've got a circumstance in your life, what I'm trying to talk to you about are the things that you have absolutely no control over in your life. So these are the things that are factual. They're the things that are neutral. They're the things that everybody would agree on. And they're the things that are outside of your control. So they're the math kind of your situation. So we're going to use a really simple example at first, and then we're going to move into an example that is specific, or a couple different specific examples that are going to help you guys specifically with what you're trying to do with real estate. So let's look at a situation that we have, everybody has, and that is the weather. The weather is something that we don't have any control over, right? When I say it's neutral, what do you think I mean when I say that it's neutral? Well, so it's neutral because some people might think a sunny day is a really good thing, and other people might think a sunny day is a really bad thing. So for example, I grew up in Switzerland, and when it was really sunny, it meant that the barometric pressure was changed and off, and it would give me a migraine headache. So I hated sunny days, and every day that I would wake up and it was really cloudy out, my perception or the thoughts that I was having about the situation of a sunny day were that wasn't good. And so those were the thoughts that I was having. But the situation or the circumstance is the same for everyone, just in that it was sunny outside. So when we're using this model and we're trying to discern what our circumstance is or what our problem really is, it's the part of it that's neutral. Because sometimes we get really confused between what our situation is and what our thoughts are, and we get them mixed up. Because what I want to try to prove to you is that your thoughts are the reason for all of your problems, not your circumstance or your situation. So for example, the way that I was thinking about the weather, that it would give me a migraine, is what was making my situation be a problem. Not that it actually was sunny. And that's neutral because a lot of other people were going through and they were thinking, yahoo, it's sunny today. We love the sun. We don't like clouds. That gives us our seasonal depression or whatever. But so what I'm trying to help you guys break down is the difference between your situation and your thoughts, because this is going to add to anything in your life. So let's go down and look at our thoughts a little bit. So the thoughts are the meaning that we give to our situation. What was the meaning that I gave to the situation of having sunshine? A headache. It made it mean that I was going to get sick. Did I get a migraine every single time it was sunny?
Probably not.
No. So you can see that there starts to be some cloudy area that comes up with these thoughts. And we have thousands of thoughts that come into our head all the time. But having control over our thoughts is really what's going to give us power for all the rest of our model. When you have these thoughts, your emotion is because of the thoughts that you have. So what kind of emotion or what kind of feelings do you guys think that you're trying to receive by sitting here? So pleasure, okay? So if I gave you a $20 bill right now, how would that make you feel? Okay.
But I would be grateful. Well, thank you.
Okay, because it's just a piece of paper though. How is a piece of paper making you be happy?
Your thoughts surrounding that piece
It's
of paper.
your thoughts, because what does that piece of paper mean? Okay? The piece of paper means that you can go have an experience that you thought that you couldn't have. These are all your thoughts. Everything is just inside your head. Because your circumstance is that's a green piece of paper, okay? Your thoughts that you have about it are, it makes me feel powerful. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel safe. It makes me feel secure. It makes me feel free. But those are only the thoughts that you're choosing to have about the circumstance that you have a piece of paper in your hand that says 20 on the top of it.
So how you look at the situation you're dealt with will determine your thoughts, emotions, actions, and results.
Exactly. This is your ticket. This is your ticket to be able to change this, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But I'm telling you that any thoughts that we have are driven more because of how we want to feel.
Right.
So even if you're, saying, well, I'm sitting here because I want to feel like I want to do a philanthropic thing. I want to be able to help others. You're still driving it towards a certain feeling for yourself. And what's that feeling for yourself? Pleasure, satisfaction. If we get more specific with it, I want to feel like success. I want to feel like I'm doing the right thing. I want to feel like I'm giving back. And I'm not saying that those emotions are all bad. I'm just saying let's be aware. Let's be aware of all of them, because your results are going to be markedly changed specifically by this, because whatever thought you have is what your brain is going to prove to be true. Whatever result you have is because of the thoughts that you think, because your brain doesn't want to be wrong either. So it's really important for you to just be able to write down on a piece of paper, S.T.E.A.R, and go through your situations and why you're doing what you're doing and why you're having the thoughts that you're having. But your thoughts are what trigger your emotion. So thoughts are actually the part that's even more important. Because once you have that thought and you attach to that thought, it just, and you don't really even consciously get to really think about the rest of your model. To be able to go outside of yourself, that's a thought that's just there. This is a circumstance that's just neutral, and I'm going to pick the thoughts that I want to have about how I want to make it mean, what I want to make this thing mean. So let's talk about feelings a little bit more. The only thing that you're trying to avoid in everything that you do is a negative emotion. And that's not always a good thing, because what happens in business? Do you need to have negative emotions sometimes? Do you need to have grit right now? Do you need to have perseverance? Are those comfortable? Do they feel good? No. Brain likes path of least resistance. Brain likes things that are easy. Those emotions, they educate us and they tell us the things that we need to be aware about to be able to make decisions to keep ourselves safe and to, move forward. So it's really important for us to also just be really understanding that just because I'm having a bad feeling about something doesn't mean that that's the wrong thing.
So like in a negotiation, it's going to be uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
you're not going to take a loss just because it's
Right.
uncomfortable. You have to go through that emotion.
Right. So that's what we call an empowered thought. And that's how we get to know that that's an empowered thought. And I'm a religious person, so I like to just tack into their faith, hope, and charity. And if that thought has something to do with faith, hope, or charity about that person or about that situation, it's probably a good empowered thought. But if it has worry, fear, and anxiety all into it, or selfishness, probably not a good thought. So when we think about our empowered thoughts, it doesn't always mean it's going to feel good. It's just empowered. And you know that it's going to be helping to, this is the model to take you to the next level in every single area of your whole life. Situation triggers your thoughts, which creates your emotions. Feelings as well, or emotions, all they are vibrations in our body. And when we can recognize that they are literal chemical reactions that are happening from the thoughts that we choose to have, then it helps us to be able to differentiate a little bit between it's something that is just happening to you versus something that you can respond to, the difference of responding versus reacting. But emotions are always, always the thing that drives your behavior. The reason that you do everything that you do is because of your feelings that you have. And it's important to really understand that. So let's talk about action a little bit. Our actions are based on emotion. The way that you show up, the things that you're going to do, are based on the feelings that you have and the way that you want to feel. So let's use our weather example for an example. The circumstance is it's sunny. My thought is, here comes a headache. Okay, I'm going to get sick. What kind of emotion am I going to feel? Pain, depressed, what kind of action do I do then? Lay around, stay in bed? Okay, so then what's my result? Do I enjoy the day? No, that's completely gone. It limits me a whole lot. The way that you show up is the way that you act, the things that you choose to do because of the emotions that you're feeling. So if it's, or don't do. Yes, inaction is just as much as an action. That's exactly the same thing. So the other thing is that humans are really good at being able to read what your emotion is. And so even if you're just trying to fake it, it's gonna for sure come through, because these subtleties in your actions are what we've all been trained to be able to pick up on. So this is true for yourself too. So when you're trying to have this relationship with self and you're having self-talk and you think that you can get around the emotion part, it's not gonna work. This has to be true. If you're feeling this emotion, you're for sure gonna be getting that same result. So, and then the other thing is you can try, and some people will say, you know, like when my situation is that the number on the scale is a little bit higher than I'd like it to be. Some people have those situations. That's a neutral thing. The thoughts that you have about your weight and what that means can be a whole lot of different things. But you know, some people say, well, I don't have to change my thoughts about that. I can just have willpower. You know, I can just choose for a really long time that I'm just not going to eat any sugar. And for any of you who have tried dieting, willpower only works for so long because you don't have as much success when you're just focused on the action. But the way that you really change your result is by going up to the thoughts. And when you go into the thought and you think the thought, I'm a healthy person. What does a healthy person feel? Happy. When you're feeling really happy, is that when you go and run for Ben & Jerry's? No, mostly it's when you're feeling bad about yourself and you need like a little pick-me-up because you're like, oh, my weight just scaled up. I need something to buffer with. You definitely don't want to be trying to control your whole model and trying to control your result with just your action alone. It's much more powerful to be able to do it with your thought. And then results, they're driven by action. Yeah. And they're proof for the original thought. So whatever it is that you think, which we went over that already, whatever it is that you originally thought, I don't like the sunshine, I made that come true. So situation triggers your thoughts, moves you to emotion, action, and then results. We're going to go through an example now that works a little bit better for you guys. Let's say the situation, make sure, remember we want to keep this part really factual, okay? The last 5 deals that I've tried to do have fallen through. What are some of the thoughts that you could have? Finding deals is hard, okay? What's your emotion that you have about that? Anxiety, okay? Then what's your action? Stay in bed, don't call. The last 5 deals didn't work out. This is not working out for me. What's your result? No deals are found. So your brain proves the truth that finding deals is hard. This is how you play. This is what we call the unintentional model, okay? This is just when you let your brain go completely uninhibited. But if we were going to go back and we were going to intentionally choose the kind of thought that we want to have over this circumstance, what would that be? The last 5 deals fell through. What's a different thought that you could have?
The last 5 deals gets me closer to finding my deal.
Yes, yes. I know 5 different ways how not to do a deal. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to make a good deal. So then what emotion do you have when you're thinking, I'm getting closer to a better deal?
Pumps you up.
Pumps you up. What's your action then that you're going to do?
Start calling more people.
I'm going to call. I'm close. I can feel it. I'm going to call. Then what's your result? Find a deal. Okay? Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions about that so far? We're going to go through another one you guys can help me with. Let's use this, being here, this educational experience, for example. Let's use this situation that there are others who have come to Fast Track who have not been successful. That's the truth. That's the circumstance. There have been people who have come through this who have not been successful. Let's be negative for a second, okay? Let's be negative, because we know that's all where we want to go first, right? We all do. It's just human nature. Fight or flight. Yes, it's the reptilian part of your brain. Yeah, path of least resistance, fight or flight, that is where we naturally want to go. You move into your frontal cortex, which is the more evolved part of the brain, that helps you to understand, I can choose my thoughts, versus I'm just an animal that just has a reflex of something scary happened, I have to run. We're going to choose what we want to do. Okay, so others are not successful in coming through fast track. What are your thoughts? I'm not special. What about this doesn't work? What's the emotion that you have then?
Dismay of some sort.
Sad. What kind of actions do you have then? Inaction might be a good one for that. Because you've got an excuse now. This is a lack of confidence thought, or this is a self-esteem. This is a shame cycle where you're trying to look for proof to validate to yourself.
You self-sabotage.
Yeah. You're not successful because, well, actually making it be about someone else, then you have to take less of the blame. And it's not so hard on yourself because you're thinking, well, it's not my fault. It's the teacher's fault. You know, if other people weren't successful with this, then it's just because the teacher didn't teach me the right things about that. What happens then when you do that is that you are a victim and you've lost all control over the rest of your model. You're just making it be about what you don't have control over. Because you don't have control over your circumstance at all. So you don't want to fall into that. So what is our result then with inaction? Others are not successful, I'm not successful. Okay, so it's still truth. It's still the same thing. Let's just keep this here and let's do the positive version, an intentional version of this. Other people haven't made it through fast track and been as successful, and even that we have to make sure we're really factual about that because there's a lot of different definitions of success. Other people haven't made $50,000 on their first deal, and you can, deciding that that's what it means to not be successful. What is another thought that you can have? That's not me. What kind of emotion do you have? Perseverance, just resolute. What actions happen then when you think?
You continue forward
Yeah.
with the plan.
It's kind of what we talked about a little bit at dinner. We're redefining our thoughts that we are learning our way to success instead of earning our way to success. You've just changed your idea that it's not all about money. That's the definition of success anymore. It's that I don't give up. Those people gave up. But my resolution is I don't give up. And that's the thought that you're having that drives the whole thing to be able to move in a positive direction. Okay, let's do another one. I have 4 hours per week to work on real estate. What is the negative thought that you're going to have about that? Not enough. Okay, what's the emotion? Disappointment, discouragement. So what action do you have then?
No action.
No action. Why try? You just know it's not going to work, so why are you going to waste your time? What result do you get?
Nothing.
Debt. You pay.
0. Guess what? You don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Or sorry, whoops. You're right. Every single time. So be careful what that is. Okay, let's fix it. Circumstance, situation still stays the same.
Right.
We've got 4 hours. That's all you've got. What's another thought that you can have about that? 4 hours is just what I need. 4 hours is exactly what I need. I can make 4 hours work. You can even be thinking in your head, it might be a little slower than somebody else, but I can make it work. Something empowering, something that's moving you. You play the game with the model and your situation doesn't change. Because if you can make it work with 4 hours, and then something happens in your situation that it changes and you have more time, then that's going to be gravy. But you want to be able to learn how to make your model work because there are some circumstances in life. Yeah, and you're right, that this is still a tricky one because to go through your life and really be able to know for a fact that everybody outside of your life is going to tell you that you only have 4 hours, that's a variable right there, right? Because somebody might say, well, your Netflix past history says that you're watching Netflix for about 10 hours a week. So I'm telling you that you don't have 4 hours. I'm telling you that you got at least 10. I would recommend you make it work where you're at right now. And if you can get the thoughts going to make it work right now, then when that situation can change, you're going to be booking.
I agree with that.
You are going to be booking. So, does somebody else have another situation? Even this is the situation, I've never done a deal before. I think in a court of law, we could all say, yeah, we've looked at this guy's real estate record. He's never done a deal. What are the unintentional thoughts that we have with this situation? Nobody's going to take me seriously. No one's going to trust me, maybe. Or, like what you just said, I'm going to make a mistake. I've never done a deal, thought, I'm going to make a mistake. What are some other ones? The thought, I'm not going to make any money on this. I'm going to lose money.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest one. Maybe we need to write that down. I
Lose money.
am going to lose. Okay, right? Even just a fast forward just in that one, that's what we were just talking about with the difference between earning your way towards success and learning your way towards success. Right. If you've got the thought that the way that you move towards success is just by learning opportunities, then thinking the thought that you're going to lose money isn't going to give you any negative emotion. That's only going to give you positive emotion because your thought is, it doesn't matter if I lose money, I'm learning by experience, not by how much money something does or doesn't make. And even worst case scenario, which is what's most helpful to do, to go on your thoughts and to think about your unintentional intentional model. So you get sued. What's going to happen when you get sued? Are you going to learn a lot starting from scratch? Are you going to learn a lot to have to pay off that lawsuit? Are you going to learn determination? Are you going to learn grit? So is it fine to have a lawsuit if your mindset is that you're learning your way towards success instead of earning your way towards success? For sure. How resilient am I that I know my end goal is success in this? So whether I go through a loss of money, whether I go through a bankruptcy, whether I go through a lawsuit, it doesn't matter because those are all just learning my way towards success. It doesn't change my value as a human being. I've had thoughts about how my value is the same as everybody else's, and I am just learning. This is stuff that I don't know. It doesn't mean anything about whether I have worth or not. I'm good enough. I can have the feelings of being good enough. Because if that's your negative emotion that's really driving you, that you're not going to feel good enough or capable enough, fixing that emotion with a thought of, that's okay. That's everybody who has worth has got to learn and make mistakes. That's just normal. It's what we're supposed to do. The emotion that happens when I'm going to lose, it's mostly I'm not good enough. The ultimate feeling that we always come down to that drives us to not have empowering thoughts is that we're making it mean that you're not good enough. I could get not good enough back to every single situation and thought that you ever do if you dig around deep enough. Who decides whether you're enough or not? It's not. Yeah, you do. And that's the whole reason for the Constitution, right? That we all are equal and we have inalienable rights just by being human, just by being born. Okay, so what's your action when you're not enough? A lot of inaction. Result?
Losing money.
Yeah, no deal. The inaction part of it, there's some other ways to look at that too. When you're feeling like you're going to lose and you have anxiety over something, then are you really going to put all of the thought and effort into it when you're thinking thoughts of I'm going to lose? Or is it going to be I'm going to try a little bit and then I'm going to curl up in front of Netflix with Ben and Jerry's for a while. I don't want to think about it because every time I think about doing this deal, I'm so afraid that I'm going to mess up that I feel icky inside. And since our feelings are what drive us, our emotions are what drive us towards everything, then you're really not going to be motivated. You have to be having happy emotions about doing your deals or you're not going to work on them. So it's not even just inaction, it's the little bit of action that you maybe do is probably not going to be as effective as possible because you're not going to move towards anything that you're having negative emotion towards. So you've got to switch those thoughts around. So let's do this really quickly in positive and an intentional model. What's our positive? I'm worthy of a good deal. That's a great positive thought to have. If you believe you're worthy of it, are you going to get one?
Yes.
For sure. What kind of emotion do you feel when you're like, I'm worthy of a deal? I'm excited, motivated. It's there. You have faith, right? That's where in that T line, faith, hope, and charity, I am worthy of a good deal. You're having faith. You're having hope that it's moving towards exactly where you need to be, what you deserve in your life. What's the action going to be? I'm worthy of a deal. Pick up the phone. You guys, I love that. And bless somebody. You get to talk to me about the deal because I'm worthy of it. And you're worthy of working with me. Aren't you lucky? Yeah. That's going to feel good. Okay, so what's our result? You get the deal. You for sure get the deal because you're going to prove that thought, I'm worthy of a deal, to be true 100% of the time. Something to really be aware of is that with our results and when we're trying to do this with other people or we're working with other people, you have to understand that just like you are the only one who has control over the thoughts that you have to choose over a situation, so does someone else. So somebody else's results are a direct link to their thoughts. Can you control how somebody else thinks? No. So can you control the results of someone else? No, not ever, ever, ever. You set out by example,
Yeah.
and you notice all the positive in other people, and they see how you're lit up, and then they're inspired to be positive like you are. Because you can't change the circumstance necessarily of all the people that, you're born into your family.
Yeah, you
Right.
You can choose to stay away from them more often, but you don't choose which parents you have, which we tell our children all the time.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, God thought you should be born to me. So what do you need to learn from me? But do I have any control over the thoughts or the results over my teenagers and what they think? And so if somebody else is around you and they're not having a wealth mindset, my question is, how does that affect you? Does it really? Are you having thoughts that it matters what other people think about what you're doing? Well, you definitely stay in your own lane because you don't have any control. And you think about when you're driving, you start turning like this, what happens to your car? So you set an example of, this is my path, this is what I feel confident and happy and secure in what I'm supposed to do. And it invites, it entices, it encourages people towards your same path. But it's absolutely not your business, anything that their thoughts are.
Yeah,
Why? Because you have no control over it whatsoever. We don't have to think thoughts that people have to agree with us on everything in order to value us or in order to feel like we have worth again. So when you stay in your own lane and you're not worried about turning and looking backwards or from side to side, and you're secure in it, then you don't feel the need either to be convincing other people that what you're doing is right. You have enough confidence that this is what I'm doing and it's totally your business. And people will feel, I trust you to sort out your own business the same way that I hope you trust that I'm going to sort out my own business. So I don't even feel compelled to have to talk to you about your beliefs that maybe aren't the same as mine. That's totally not my business.
Right.
And that's just called unconditional love. And so when you really accept somebody for right where they're at, and maybe it's not their mission and their thing to figure out about wealth right now, but you loving on them and setting an example of just, I'm doing what I know is the right thing for me to do, then maybe someday in the future you have higher odds of influence by just loving them and accepting them where they're at, that they'll understand what you're talking about later down the line, than going to them and saying, that's the wrong way of thinking, and look at all this proof that I need to have. There's a quote that I heard the other day, and it was like, people who feel like they really need to teach others are usually the ones that need the teaching. Just to really be secure in what you're doing is going to teach by example so much more than trying to get somebody to be persuaded. Well, and if you really want acceptance from your family, what do? You turn it around and you practice acceptance of them.
Right.
So even if it's not about wealth in any way, it's just love. If you're looking for acceptance and affirmation, go and give it to them instead and help them to see what that feels like to be able to give it. And that's when you're going to receive it back. Not even necessarily from them, but you just receive that from within yourself because you're staying in your own lane and you're like, I'm the kind of person who wants to affirm people. I'm the kind of person who wants to show up as somebody who stays in their own business. I'm the kind of person who wants to just accept people wherever they are in their learning journey, because I don't make it be that I'm up here because I'm wealthier than them, or I don't make it that I'm down here because I've made more mistakes in real estate than them. I understand that our worth is completely equal, and I'm just trugging along on my lane, and their lane that they're driving in, it might have all these different turns, and it might go up and downhill, and mine's not, and I don't have any judgment for that, but I just stay in my own business. And then that kind of focus and staying in those thoughts is really what's going to drive those results. Mind blown? Who's got their minds blown? I fixed all your problems in half an hour. I did. Well, not me. You guys have to do the thoughts, but the model's here, right? You've got the outline. It really is possible. If you played with this and really learn about it, and I definitely highly recommend those life coaches that I told you about, but ever since we learned about this, just the universe is completely opening up, because I don't have any control over most of these things. 90% of the things, I don't have control over the situation, but I do 100% have control over my thoughts. And because even before the business part comes the thoughts that you have about whether you are or aren't successful in business doesn't change your worth. And so any endeavors that you do towards business are a positive thing, because you're just learning your way to being an overarching successful person. So even when we try to hone in too much on one niche, and you think and you start putting all your eggs in that basket, that's what's going to give you that feeling of being happy, that's what's going to give you that feeling of worth and like you're enough, That's not necessarily it. It's your thoughts that you are just learning your way to all these different aspects of your life, and that your worth is unchangeable. So you just learn.
It's just part of the process.
It's just part of the process, so it's all fine. You go out and you botch up all your deals. No big deal. Just learning your way forward. And the more that your brain practices the synapse of moving towards a positive, empowering thought, the easier that it becomes to do it. So, on your napkins at dinner, be jotting this down as often as you can, and not just with business, but with your relationships or with your own relationship within yourself as you strive to have other goals in your life, to eat better or exercise more or anything, be more spiritual, steering myself towards the next level. Sound good? You're welcome. Hope that helps, guys.